Oh, it says we're live and we're on. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's see what's going on. It looked like I have audio. I'm hoping so. This is my experiment or new way to basically do things in an unprepared fashion rather than preparing and see how things are. I got a haircut, which I can actually now see better that I'm on the video, even though I've seen myself in the mirror. But let me know if you can hear me or if you can't hear me. You wouldn't be able to answer that question, would you? But let me know if you see my mouth move and you don't hear what I'm asking, let me know because that's also very helpful. But yeah, let me know any of those questions. But yeah, I'm practicing just going and sharing my ideas and seeing if they're helpful to you. Hopefully they are. I know that it seems, especially, I don't talk about astrology on the channel, but I do think it's an interesting tool that we can use to help ourselves navigate things. And oh, hello. Can you hear me, Roller Girl? That's so funny because my parents currently are in Nevada. They're driving up here. And the last I heard from their updates, they're in Nevada, but I forget what part. They could be staying in Las Vegas. They love it there, not for gambling, but for they love the buffets, as do I. Who doesn't love luxurious snacks? Can you hear me though? I know there's a delay, which is always. But I've only been to Las Vegas once, and it was when I was like 12. I remember they had the M&M factory or M&M store, and I got one of those dispensers where it was like the yellow M&M. You pull the hand down, and it dispenses M&Ms. I didn't need an M&M dispenser as a 12-year-old, but I got one. But let me know, yeah, if you can hear me. I'm guessing you can hear me because you just said cool. So, okay, good. Thank you for the confirmation. But yeah, I know that there's been a lot of different kind of energetics going on. So I just wanted to see if I could help, maybe answer some questions or kind of give my perspectives to help you. But what I found in my own personal life is I've been much more tired than normal. I don't know if that's the case for y'all in your life, but that's what I've been experiencing. And learning how to be gentle with myself and navigate that and embrace what's happening. Also balance it with my responsibilities and my, what I'm building in the world and what I'm trying to do, taking it all into consideration rather than having a quick judgment or being very critical or being the critical, it's like that string, like that minimizing energy. I'm working on, okay, what's going on? Okay, how can I breathe through it? How can I be with this moment and see the truth of what I'm experiencing, but also potentially some illusion in those stories as well? But has anyone else been feeling more tired, or maybe things have been a bit more tumultuous, or any tension for anybody? Let me know if so. Um, please don't encourage my M&M. I'm not obsessed with them anymore, but I do love candy. Let's be real. And it was just Halloween here, I guess 2 days ago, and so I definitely did have some candy. Probably my favorite Halloween candy off the top of my head is Twix. There's an unsolicited note about me. Okay, let's see. We got Katie. Good evening. I can hear you. Oh, good evening. I wonder what time zone you're on. It's 3 o'clock for me. What time is it for y'all? Very good shift. Okay, good. Love that, Peter. Still seeing many people going out of my life and feeling abandoned. Friends are just dropping off. Any thoughts, please? Well, it depends. You can give me more info. Sometimes what I have found in my own life and have seen in other people's lives is, when people who don't have the emotional space for the connection you're looking for, they will leave, and that will feel scary and hard because you did have a relationship with them and they did mean something to you or still do. However, them being removed or them fading away or them distancing, whatever the case may be, that actually creates space in your life for people who are emotionally available and who are looking to connect and do have space to meet you in the ways that you are looking for. So even though you might be feeling like, oh my gosh, what in the world? I've been doing all this work and these people are going, for one, like really taking a look. Do I value, like, are these really the people that I want to be around and that I really care? Like the types of people that I want in my life, or am I just afraid I'm going to be all alone if they leave? I'm not sure if that makes sense in the two different, um, like those categories. Like for me personally, and my stuff happened a lot with romantic relationships. So it would be at the time, I'm like, oh no, I want this person, I want this relationship. And then, this is years ago. But what I would find is looking back on those relationships, I wasn't as interested in them. It became more about me keeping that relationship. And I never actually stopped to think, oh, do I actually like them? Is this the kind of person that I want to be with? I became hyper fixated on the fear of being alone versus all this energy spent on people that I didn't actually want to be with. Not that there's something wrong with them or they're bad, but I actually didn't like them, but I didn't stop to actually ask myself that. So I don't know if that helps you, Katie, to think, is this the type of person that I actually want to be around, or am I just afraid if they leave, then I'm going to be alone? Because potentially, if you can just start to say, maybe them leaving actually opens up the space in my life for deeper relationships and more authentic connection. So let me know how that resonates with you, and I can go deeper into it. Okay, Peter. Also, strangely, I'm able to hyper focus now. Interesting. I don't know what shifted. Well, there has been a huge energetic shift, and I can't off the top of my head. Like I don't. We need some. Oh, I forget her YouTube name, but yeah, I know that we were just going through like a 2-year energetic cycle. And on Saturday, I guess almost a week ago, that last full moon and eclipse basically completed that. And so now everything that has shifted and that we've been preparing for, but we quite weren't able to get out of. Oh, ethereal astrology is actually a really good one. I follow a lot. I think she is so spot on in my own personal, like, she's just, I love that channel. But check her out if y'all are interested in hearing more about her last video. Was really, really good in terms of, she does a big overview and then she gets really clear on what's currently going on. So if you're interested in that, I would highly encourage you. Ethereal astrology. Um, but yeah, so it's kind of like we were seeing that we need to make changes. And then it was like, okay, starting to feel like we could, but then still feeling stuck and not able to do the changes that we can start to visualize, and that clarity is there. But on Saturday, it basically was the final culmination. And I believe over the next 6 months or so, from now until about May, those all that work will start to come into the, manifest or be revealed, or those opportunities that you've been working on will start to come to fruition. So yeah, it's exciting, but it's exhausting. Okay, Katie, yes, thank you. It does. I understand this feels almost like a purge. I do feel I'm loving myself more. And oh, very, very good evening to you. Yeah, so consider yourself more in this, Katie, where it's like, okay, these people are leaving. Okay, and you can have pain, that can be sad if you're losing, or you've lost a friendship or a relationship with somebody who meant a lot. I'm not saying to invalidate your feelings, or I'm not saying to pretend that doesn't exist. You can have that and think, okay, you know what? I don't know if they had the emotional capacity. I don't know if they were interested in going deep and healing, and those are the kind of relationships that I want. So considering yourself, Katie, more in this situation compared to those people left me. Well, are those people the types of people that you see in your highest self? They don't have to be bad, but if they're not interested in healing, if they're not interested in doing inner work, then that's not wrong or right. But what are you looking for? So it's about including yourself in that big picture. Because again, I would always relate to the other person. Oh no, they're leaving me. But wait, and then like, oh my God, I never actually considered, do I want this person around, or did I just become so focused on not being left? And for me personally, that's what was going on. And when I realized that years later, I was not like in the moment, like having these thoughts. Like it took me a long time. I was well past the relationship. But the pain of those things, there was a lot of energetic let go because I felt guilty or ashamed or not good enough. But I realized, oh, I actually wasn't interested in them either. And so it was a mutual thing. And that allowed me to see myself differently just by re-reasoning and considering my perspective and my needs in that, if that makes sense. So, but yeah, if y'all have any other questions, I mean, I am here. Like I said, it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's a very busy time for me, and there's a lot of different opportunities and things happening in my life, which is quite interesting for me in terms of the eclipse because I've been working on a lot rather than doing some inner work. Well, I guess I'm doing, right? But the doing is letting go. It's less about action in the world and more about looking in to say, okay, do I actually have the space right now in my self-image? Does my self-worth equate with this external experience? And rather than, chasing the outside, taking a moment to go in and expand my capacity to receive, then things, and doing that, I've actually found there's some big opportunities in my life that have just kind of naturally come up, getting in 2 emails out of the blue and for situations like being invited to give my first keynote speech about my experience in my journey and retelling stories about meanings from situations that have happened and that how that helps us connect more to ourselves, which ultimately is a foundation and gateway to connect deeper with other people. So yeah, that's one of the bigger things, especially people in the Northern Hemisphere, realizing we're going into fall, we're going into winter. I guess we're in fall, we're going into winter. And just like a fruiting tree or a fruiting plant, like it's not always about production, right? There's a dormant phase of that plant in order for it to rest and repair and rejuvenate so that when it's time to fruit, it's ready. And with, our own spiritual and emotional garden, doing the weeding and removing those blocks of limiting beliefs that could be like rocks in a garden. Well, rocks don't facilitate growth, right? We got to get those out and move them so that we have more space to expand and have bigger experiences reflected in our outside world. Is that making sense? But that's personally what I've been doing right now. And, my intuition said, maybe hop on here. I don't really know what I'll say, but I have a feeling that, what is needed will come out is what I trusted. And also trusting myself more, not only with this, it's like a 30 to 40-minute speech, but I just know I can do this. And this is really important, not because of me, because, I can share what I'm going through and what has helped me liberate my emotional world and help me improve my life and create experiences that I was actually wanting rather than staying in a miserable repeating pattern. I can help and share how I did that because I was taught. And so sharing that is very important and less about me in it and more about how I'm kind of like a vessel. We're all vessels to help each other, in my opinion. So, yeah, let me know if there's something specific in your life that you have maybe, foggy or blurry that you might want some help with. And I'm here. This is a wild day for me because this is coffee and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon and it's not very much. It was the last I had in the coffee pot. So we'll see. We'll see what kind of evening this sets me out on. Maybe it'll be a late one. Maybe it'll be like 8 hours from now and I'm going to go live again because I have so much energy. Oh, yay. Trying to see other comments here. I'm curious, Peter, about your hyper focus now. I'm curious about your astrological chart. Now, when you say, Okay, yeah, you said I'm able to hyper focus now. I'm wondering if that's in relation to your inner world or if that's actual working. That's another thing I find fascinating about astrology is that, you know, it varies per person. And I set out on my accidental astrology journey by basically thinking, oh, this is nonsense. I'm going to do some research and prove that this is total bullshit. And the more I looked, the more I related to it, and the more I looked, the more it was accurate, and it just on and on and on. The deeper it goes, the more profound. And then when I started hearing different people's kind of, there's certain energies, or like they describe kind of an energy, an archetype, you might say, and you're like, oh, that's kind of like an Aquarius archetype or a Sagittarius. Like they have this kind of like um, aspects, or like it's like features on a car, and you're like, oh, that's on the blah, the blank. And then it's like, and then looking into their chart, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I don't consider myself a very in-depth astrologer. I just know more than most, but not as much as people on YouTube talking about astrology, especially ethereal astrology. I believe that's her page name, but it's really good. I like her perspective on things. Oh, I used to be. So Peter says, I used to be a lot in beta waves, mind hopping all over the place. More recently, it seems I go deep into one thought, one item. I mean, that says a lot too, because it's like, if you were in a room, or if I was in a room right now, and I mean, I am in a room, so you don't have to imagine too much. But imagine in this room, I'm talking to you, you're hearing my voice. But imagine I had like three radios on and they're all playing. Maybe one's playing like classic rock, maybe one's playing metal, maybe one's a news station, one's jazz. That would be like overwhelming. So potentially, Peter, for you, you're learning to be more in your own presence as opposed to hearing echoes really of the past or even past people. Recently, I was talking with a client and it was about kind of things coming up, like being late and kind of automatic, reactions internally, and it can feel very self-critical. But there's a book, Conquering Your Critical Inner Voice, that specifically talks about our inner critic, like 9 times out of 10, is one of our parents. And what we're doing is replaying what they used to tell us under similar circumstances. So when you can start to understand, oh my God, that's just my mom, that's just my dad. Thanks, I love you too, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's like, get out of here. You don't, I don't know the relationship we all have with your parents or your caregivers, but if you can just start to say, oh, that's not me. Oh, that's not me. Oh, okay. No, this doesn't bother me. I don't see a problem with this. You start to pull back your power, which gives you the autonomy. Basically, you start to be autonomous. This is me. This is my opinion. That's you. And you don't have to say you're an asshole because you think that way. Like, you don't have to judge it. You just say, oh, that's not me. Ah, this is me. Oh, that's not me. This is me. And what that does, the autonomy allows you to actually connect, because when you're enmeshed or codependent, that's not real connection. You have to deny or suppress a part of yourself with codependence, because you're just like merged, right? Enmeshment. So, and energetically, like, you're always energetically being whatever it is. But if you're suppressing or denying, it's like if there's a radio in the basement playing a channel. Well, you can't hear it, but it's still playing, it's still giving out a frequency. So when you start to get more clear, like Peter, like you're talking about, calming the nervous system, which is massive, then you can actually start to tend to what's going on. Okay, Katie. Oh, thank you. I've also been blocked by my SP for over a year now. A LOA coach I follow told me to persist and not date others. Where do I sit with it? Well, we got to look and see what the dynamic is, because if you're because I think that a lot of the law of attraction people, like I think a lot of manifestation world, and I'm not saying that person specifically because I don't know who you're talking about, but a lot of it's bullshit. A lot of it is gaslighting ourselves. And this is like the laws, our laws, like they govern our experience. But how to work with them is like, there's so much gaslighting and things that are not actually like, working within them. They're kind of fantasies. And so it's like, okay, I don't know what your specific thing, every one of us has a pattern, energetic pattern stemming from those early on interactions with, in this case, a relationship. So for you, if you had a parent, a caregiver, maybe it was a sibling, somebody primary in your early on experience, that early on experience is so impactful because for one, your brain's not fully developed. You don't have reasoning skills. So you're trusting the people around you who keep you alive to give you an impression. Oh, this is how people relate to me. Okay, this is how care works for. So if they were too far away from you, if they emotionally neglected you or didn't pay attention, and so you felt they went too far away in terms of distance, that fear of, oh no, they're going to leave. I better be a really good girl. I better get their attention. Or maybe I'm a victim. I can't help myself. Whatever it was early on how you got them to connect or come back, unconsciously, that's going to be then the pattern that then gets applied over relationships. So again, we go back to this person, the person who has blocked you, your SP. In my own situation, is that somebody who actually holds the capacity to love you in the ways that you need to be loved? And I'm not trying to invalidate you or this relationship at all. I'm trying to just, again, because I don't have a lot of details, it's very open-ended. But to persist, well, if you persist and you keep doing what you're doing and you're denying that part of you that's calling out, that energy is still there. That wounded child, that inner you who wants to be loved and accepted, you potentially could be doing the same energy you felt from your childhood. Not now, little girl. Ugh, what do you want? Right? The little girl is like, oh, I just want to connect. God, this person doesn't want me. It's like, oh, no, no, no. And, basically breaking this pattern is identifying it. Anxiety, comparison, suspicion, or distrust is a huge indicator, like physiologically and mentally. Psychologically and physiological, like indicators, feedback to, oh, I'm self-abandoning. I'm repeating the rejection of me and my needs. How can I give myself what I need right now? How can I break out and realize, oh, I'm telling myself the story that it's because of who I am they don't want me, and that's why. Oh, I don't know what's going on in their life, or maybe you do. Not everyone's for everyone, and again, I don't know the specifics of this, so it's hard to kind of fill in blanks because it's there could be so many different things. But when you take those reasons that they can't be in the relationship personal as a direct reflection of your self-worth, that's going to be a historical signal. And if you persist in chasing the outside to soothe your inside, you're in the same state as you were when you were a kid. If that does that make sense? I mean, and some people could be like, well, that's bullshit. But it's like, if you're persisting so the other person will change, you're in the most powerless dynamic you could possibly be in. But if you start to understand, oh, okay, the story I'm telling myself is that everyone leaves, that I'm not, okay, and bringing your energy back, coming back and being grounded, being emotionally available to yourself, understanding what end emotion do I feel I'll have if I'm in this relationship. Oh, okay, I'll have sense of belonging, sense of connection. How can I start to give that to myself now so that I can see it reflected back? And early on, I talked about increasing that capacity. If you don't have a capacity to connect with yourself, you'll find people who also don't connect with you. If you keep leaving yourself so that the other people will soothe you, you'll keep finding people who emotionally abandon you when you're looking for support or connection. I'm not sure if this is making sense. Again, I know it feels a little bit all over the place because of some of those um, uh, points that I'm not sure what that looks like right now. But to persist in an abandonment pattern is going to, if you persist in your abandonment pattern, you're persistently abandoning yourself. That's the most simplistic I can say. Can you please explain the workings of how creating, I think that's supposed to be feeling. If not, I'm not familiar with that word, but Oh yeah, the inner world creates an outer world. Well, like the example I'm just giving right now with the relationship, for me, I kept emotionally abandoning myself. So that's rooted in I need this person to see me as enough. I want this person to love me so I can feel loved. I want this person to value me so I feel valued. That's stemming from a lack of self value, self worth, which is coming from a history, some sort of original pattern um, that has happened to you. Now, those experiences are 100% valid. How they hurt you and what they made you feel, 100% valid. We're not here to deny those or curse the people who did it. You know, everyone's doing the best they can. That doesn't mean that was good for you. I'm team you. I want y'all all to liberate yourself emotionally and energetically from these distortions of yourself. And we all have them. It's being able to start to break the pattern of emotional unavailability, which is what you most likely experienced. And again, for you, Peter, it might look different. Maybe it's with work. Maybe it's with, I'm not sure. Sorry, I get like so I'm like in the thought, and then I'm like, oh, shiny thing. I'll get right back to your comment, Katie. Um, but if somebody shows, okay, for me, I'll just give my example because that's the clearest one. But if you have another example, I can help you break it down. Peter, if you want to let me know what feeling you're looking towards or wanting to create, I can kind of break down what that looks like. Because it wasn't until I started valuing myself on not leaving myself alone, on not searching and leaving myself for the other person, I started becoming emotionally available to myself, which then meant when I found emotionally unavailable people, that was no longer attractive. That wasn't interesting. I didn't want to do that song and dance. Not that I did before want to do it, but I didn't feel I didn't know I had a choice. So then I actually could perceive, because you don't see the world with your eyes, you see it through your mind. And your mind is a function of your brain. Think about different filters from your past experiences. Now you can go in and take one filter out and put a new one in. Oh, low self worth? No, no, no. I actually am very worthy. I am always been worthy. It was my misunderstanding that the reason my parent treated me like that was because wasn't good enough. No, I was doing what I needed to do as a kid. The lack of emotional capacity in my environment was a limitation. So you can put that new filter in. When you start to have that capacity, experiencing it from the outside is now you can connect, now you can attract it, but now you can actually experience it because you can receive it. It feels congruent, it feels equal with how you feel about yourself. So to I know that was kind of a long answer, but for Peter, for you, how to create that feeling, well, you've got to get clear on what emotion do you associate with the experience. And it's kind of funny too, because I'm going to do a video tomorrow about how to create, the secret to feeling it, which is the secret, right? The secret is the feeling, but how in the world do you feel it? Well, you've got to go to the end, which is okay, if I had that amount of money, I would feel secure. I would feel stable. If I had that relationship, I'd have a sense of belonging. So, what exactly is that end emotional experience you're looking for? Get really clear on that. Okay, it was more of a general question to understand how the inner creates the outer world. Well, I mean, even at a psychological level, perceptional bias, we will keep finding only the story we believe is true. For me, I'm not good enough. All of my track meets, I was always second. I was not quite, even though I was fighting and trying really hard, I was never quite the top because I would choke up. I just wouldn't let it out because internally I didn't quite believe I was that. I didn't believe I was attractive enough. I didn't believe I had enough to offer. So I would find people who agreed with me on that, people who would reflect that back to me. So even on a psychological level, we have perceptions, and perceptions are fueled and glued together by beliefs. And a belief is a strong opinion. So our subconscious literally will block out outside of our vision, outside of our senses. We will not be able to perceive of it, even if it's right in front of us. So for one, that's one, scientific way. And another one you could say is energetics. Um, And again, if somebody who you think is a 10 and you see yourself as a 3, if they come up to you, you'll probably be suspicious. They're like, is somebody playing a joke? What's going on here? Something's off. God, if they actually knew me, they would not like me, right? There's going to be a dissonance, right? It's not going to resonate. It's going to reject each other. So that's another way to say it, that if your belief system doesn't hold that experience, it'll be rejected either internally as, I don't want this feels weird, I can't handle this. The same as somebody gives you if you've ever had somebody do something nice and they say something nice, they give you a compliment, and you're like, it's nothing, not really, I'm not really, right? You're trying to move away from it because you don't see yourself as that. Cultivating healthy ways of being, well, I think that goes to respect. And really deep diving. Okay, I feel like I'm not good enough. Where in the world? Like, and sometimes you can look at a baby, right? Where it's like a baby screams for their needs to be met. No one's judging that baby as not worthy or not good enough to get the food or be burped. I don't know a lot about babies, like have their diaper changed, right? They're inherently worth having their needs met. But somewhere you've had some experiences, we all have, that have caused distortions of how we view ourselves. And we think those distortions, those introductions of how we're supposed to be treated, are worth. We think that that's the truth of the universe because it hasn't been you know, uh, gone back to be oh gosh, there goes. I've lost the word. Um, Revalued. Oh, it's almost there. It's like reappraised. I think that's the word I'm looking for. You go back to appraise it. Does the person that valued me originally, do I value how they think of this? If you went to a tire shop, they're going to be great about tires. But if you went in there and said, how much is this rare gem worth? Somewhat $5. I don't know, $100. And it's worth $17,000. Like if you went around thinking, I don't got much, it's not worth that much. But really it was the praiser who didn't have the skills to appraise it. That's a completely, like, oh my God, you would see it completely different. And that's the same thing we need to do to ourselves. So cultivating the healthy ways of being is removing the distortions that we should be or are anything other than having respect and having our needs met and having others respect us and meeting our needs as well. Okay. I carry a lot of flight risk. And again, let me know if this is helping, if you have more follow-ups. Okay, Katie, the shift has come within. He has set me on my path to self-love and worth. Katie, you have set you on your path to self-love and worth. One of my biggest things I can ever say, and this is me who makes YouTube videos to help, I am not doing this. You are always healing you. You are the one who has control of it. People, you can do the inner work and, circumstances might happen outside of you, but you hold the power of the story you say about why it's happening. And that's going to reflect self-confidence, self-love, or it's going to reflect the distortion of how people treated you early on. Even if your parents or caregivers meant the best and they tried as hard, they're humans. They're going to fall short just because that's the way it is. So we're not blaming them or cursing them. But Katie, you have set you on your path to love and worth. You have. Giving that to somebody else is giving away your power. And I say that lovingly, not like, how dare you? Sometimes I can get really intense and I feel like my tone's very serious, and it is, but in a loving way. I carry a lot of nervousness in my being. I'm from childhood. I had a sibling that was very mean. We're close now, but as a 45-year-old mother of 5, I still feel that scared kid a lot. Okay, yeah. Any tips? For one, somatic work. Somatic is important because, okay, little girl, I believe, I guess mother, yeah. Spoiler. Okay, well, I mean, I'm not gonna. Okay, you were a small child. You had this sibling, and you were fearful. They're older, I'm guessing, but there was a perceived threat to you. Maybe it was being embarrassed. Maybe it was physical, scared they're going to hurt you, or maybe they were going to hurt your feelings. They were unpredictable. So your body was in, I don't know, it would be freeze. It's scared, right? So it's stuck. But it's stuck in I'm at risk, I'm in danger. So what you'll need to do is start to learn and start to take on exercises uh, to regulate your nervous system. And that's going to be highly dependent on you listening to your body. Okay, I'm feeling really tight here. Okay. And this is kind of like a carpenter, like I don't know, somebody who uses tools. So you could, whatever scenario you want to use, increasing your toolbox, because there's a lot of different somatic movements. Because when you were a kid, it was your mind who perceived it, and then your body had a response. So you can't just think your way. This is why, like, thinking doesn't really change and allow you to manifest things, right? It doesn't really change your circumstances. You've got to incorporate the body. The body is feeling. And if the body's in survival, that's a very, very low level vibration, to say the least. And you can't create something if you're afraid. So if a lion's chasing you, if there's a bear in the room, I'm not like, hey, everybody, let's go live, right? Where would my focus be? As much as I love y'all and I want to share stuff, my attention's going to be on the bear that I don't know if it's going to, go to sleep, probably not, or try to eat me. So, as much as I want to be here with you, my physiological response would be to deal with the bear. So, that same thing happens with us when we have these early on situations, particularly if you grew up learning that survival mode, that stress response is normal. And there's nothing wrong. Like, tons of people still live in survival stress response, right? It's like that their alarm, like a fire beep, beep, right? Like if that was going on and you just got used to it and you're like, oh, that's just what happens when I'm in the house. Learning how to turn it off is now something that you can do as an adult. So somatic work helps because it's not just a mind thing, it's learning how to regulate your nervous system. Dr. Peter Levine has the VOO, which literally you just VOO. You can do that in the car. You could do it with your kids. And what you'll feel as you're doing that is it kind of fills your chest cavity with a vibration. And what that vibration is doing is stimulating the nerve that goes from your gut to your brain that says, hey, we're good, we're safe. And it just kind of soothes you. There's another one. I don't know if it gets scratchy when I touch that, but there's another one. I think it's called the butterfly, where you just kind of basically hug here, but you're trying to bring your attention back to your body, because when that happens, you're somewhere else. So suspicion, anxiety, for you, flight risk, it's anxiety and probably comparison. When that anxiety starts going, I'm afraid something bad's gonna happen, that can help you break out. Oh, there, okay, I'm safe. And maybe you go to the bathroom. I know with 5 kids, I'm not trying to say that I have the answers with that. I know that, for one, you're a badass to be able to do all that. But how can you take just a second, even if you involve your kids? Okay, everybody, we're gonna breathe. Right? That's up to you. I don't know what that looks like in your life, but teaching their kids this is really helpful. And you could even say, "Oh, mom feels a little bit tense. Let's roll our shoulders. Let's give ourselves a butterfly hug. Let's breathe through the nose, raise our belly, and then I think that's called lion's breath. I could be wrong on that. But using somatic tools to help regulate your nervous system and breaking that pattern of automatic response can help you. And then when you're, and part of it might be writing a letter, and maybe you never give it to your, I don't know if it was sister or brother, maybe you never give it to your sibling, but what are words little you had to say that hurt, that fear, where you can give it a voice so it can be out and you can say, I hear you and I'm keeping me safe. I hear you and it's okay to feel this way, that you were scared and I hear you and I'm going to keep you safe, right? You can or can't, maybe you share that with them and it allows for deeper connection, especially if you're saying, wow, that was really hard for me and I'm so glad that now we're close. I always wanted to connect with you and it was scary sometimes because it hurt my feelings and we were kids and I get it. And I want to just share what my experience was like, because you can share your experience and not be blaming somebody. So yeah, maybe writing a letter, maybe talking with them, maybe if you have alone time ever, I don't know what it looks like in your life, when you're in the car, if no one was judging you, if nothing bad would happen, what would you say to different people? Because what that does, and what my experience has been with that, is it allows you to hear your own voice and kind of creates that autonomy and creates that that safe fence to keep you good. Like you're learning how to trust yourself and that you now hold the keys to keep you safe. Because as a kid, you're looking for mom and dad or guardians like, hey, is anybody going to keep me safe? Oh no, no one's there to get me. This bad thing's going to happen. But now what you got to do is trust yourself that you're now the adult that you needed as a kid. How can you show up for you in the ways that you were failed? Like your parents, they missed the mark there, and they're not bad people for doing that. And you still needed it. Your needs weren't met that way. So that will help you also tap into neuroplasticity when you have that experience and you break out of the reaction, recognize, break out of it, right? Having the conscious choice towards that new behavior. And this is where I talk about the ABC, awareness. Oh, okay, I'm starting to get anxious. The body's going to really help. Anxiety, suspicion, distrust, or when you start to compare, huge indicators of self-abandonment. Okay, I'm hearing the story. I'm going to breathe. Okay, it really feels scary to do anything but that. Okay, what do I need right now? Okay, maybe I'm going to go on a walk. Maybe I'm going to journal. Maybe I'm going to do those voos or butterfly hugs, but something that's going to involve the physical realm. And even walking, that helps a lot because when you're walking, there's an occipital something, some nerve that we unconsciously are like scanning side side for our safety so we don't fall, and it's unconscious to us. So when we're scanning and using that, it's actually draining the gas from the amygdala, which is your fear scanner emotionally. So talk about a long-winded answer. Sometimes I don't know what is too much and if I should just say it all, and then you get what you need and others maybe get something too. I'm not sure, but that's kind of how I see it, what I've learned, what has helped me, and where I am right now with my understanding. So I hope that helps. Are there any other questions? Oh, good. I'm glad that helped. But yeah, I mean, understanding it is going to be huge of what's happening as opposed to kind of being overtaken by it. You can start using your like your frontal lobe, like your higher executive functioning to recognize a pattern and break it. Recognize the pattern, break it. Recognize the pattern, break it. And eventually that new pattern is your regular. So it's not like, okay, now do this for the rest of your life. At a certain point, you'll do it so much where then it becomes, especially once you do a new action and you're safe. Doing the new action will feel scary, and that's okay. And remember, it's unfamiliar. Unfamiliar and dangerous can sometimes feel like the same energy, but you got to use your discernment and really be in tune with yourself. It can be, yeah. Walking can definitely be a meditative thing, especially if you're not listening to something, or maybe alpha brainwaves. I do that. In the Discord group, we were actually doing, I believe it was September's challenge. We would go on a walk. And for me personally, I would use alpha brainwaves, but we would go on a 10-minute walk and we would walk through the world in the feeling of whatever desire we were wanting in our life. So what were the end emotions? If you had X amount of money, what would the end emotion be like? Who would you be walking down the street with that in your life already? And practicing, not changing anything on the outside world, but how would you feel? And it was an interesting way to kind of take it from just inside the mind to like actually a physical thing. So I'd highly recommend y'all try that. It was really, really helpful. And a lot of people in the group had really positive experiences from it as well. All right. Any other questions for our random Thursday afternoon live? Any others or shares of any kind? It doesn't have to be deep spiritual stuff. It could be, human stuff. I've recently finally accepted that. Yes, I love coffee. Don't get me wrong, but I really love my coffee creamer. And a lot of why I like my coffee so much at home is because of my coffee creamer. So I like my coffee creamer in the morning with a splash of coffee. I don't actually put that much of the creamer, but it's just so tasty. So That's me just experiencing this human side of things, and I'm delighted by it, little things. And I really love hot drinks. My dad's the same way, where it's like, I mean, he'll have things like almost boiling off the stove, and it's just like, boom, splash it in the cup, and he's good to go. And if it's not piping hot, he'll need to get it hot. Like, he doesn't want to drink anything that's warm. He wants it like piping hot. That's why he always drinks coffee out of a little tiny, like you think it's espresso, but it's not. It's just strong coffee out of a cup, and he wants it small so it doesn't go cold. So there's some other unsolicited tidbits about me and my family. My parents, like I said earlier, asbestos mouth. What is that? I don't know what that means. I think I'm reading that right. Um, But yeah, my parents are actually driving. They're on day 3. They kind of just take their time, and look around, but they're coming to visit. And the first time, oh, interesting. I'd never heard of that. Is that something like Googleable? Can you Google that? Is like a thing, or is that what you call it? Let me know. And I also love really hot things. I do find it hard. Like right now, my coffee's it's not piping hot. So I'm like, it just kind of loses. So it's like it goes the heat and then the creamer and then the coffee. That is list of importance. So it's just the creamer and the coffee, and it's like just kind of, I don't think so. Okay. You're welcome, Peter. I'm hoping that really helped. And again, for you, your exploration of how to do it could be unique and different, but like understanding the end emotion is going to be really important. How do you suggest interacting with those in your reality that you're shifting as you're shifting your pattern? Do you find that sorry, I'm like, I'm not even making sense. Okay. How do you suggest interacting with those in your reality as you're shifting your patterns? Do you find that you outgrow people or they shift to match your new self concept? Um, Sometimes you outgrow people, and that's a hard thing, in my opinion, about life and about our human experience. And in those removal of relationships can create space for relationships more beautiful than you could imagine right now. So interacting as you're shifting the patterns, it's about being very, very like staying with yourself. If you have a pattern, which I think we all have, pattern of self-abandonment, and that can look different because even people who are more avoidant, right? They don't want to connect. They're afraid that if they get close to people, they're going to get hurt, or they don't trust people, all that. They're still self-abandoning because truly what we want is to connect. So when we start getting real about what we're really feeling, and outside of the trigger, we're resolving and healing those old wounds. And inside the trigger, we're becoming aware and stepping out of it. As we do that, staying in your integrity is the most important thing, which is staying connected to yourself and like what is best for you, and not like on top of other people, but as a people pleaser, covering people pleaser, I would so many times say yes to other people so they'd still like me, and it was a no to me. So how can you learn that it's safer now for you to keep yourself safe and to say yes to you, even if it's a no, even if it's going to disappoint people, um, and staying in your integrity and being aware of what's going on. That would be a huge one, with how to interact with people as you're shifting. Be aware of the pattern in the moment. I'll say it again. Be aware of your pattern in the moment and making a new choice will completely change your life. Um, no, I don't think that everyone around, like, I don't subscribe to the idea that we're making everyone up. I think we're all souls here, as a collective, right? We're all connected to a higher power, energy, source, universe, whatever you want to say. So I don't feel like if I change something, then it's going to change you. Now, how I treat myself and how I respect myself, that might have a change in interaction with other people. But when you're starting to try to change other people, that's also very self-abandoning, in my opinion, because you're dependent on their behavior for yourself, your sense of experience in life. And that is absolutely disempowering. I need you to be like this, so I'm spending my energy so you'll change, so I'll be okay. Very much childhood dynamics. So it's a lower level reasoning, like strategy. What do you do when you're a kid and you can't change your environment? You have to try to get people to do certain things because you don't have a power to leave that or get out of that. So realizing that is not a judgment in that, like, you're so bad, but it's like, oh yeah, if I need other people to change, I feel not powerful enough to actually make the changes I need because I'm dependent on the, oh, okay, whoops. Okay, how can I do that? If that makes sense. Let me know, AS, if that makes sense. The term circumstances do not matter gets thrown around a lot, especially in the Neville Goddard community. I have an assumption that of my SP as he's in the military, he's able to maybe suppress emotions. Circumstances don't matter. Uh, again, it kind of like gets under my skin a bit. Not your question and not your comment at all, but the distortion of it like I'm in Aries too, so I can like get really like like oh, I don't really want to headbutt anything, but like it gets me riled up because it's like the circumstances don't matter in my opinion because the circumstances aren't a reflection of your true worth. They're not a reflection of your ability and what you can have in life, but they're data points on potentially what you're feeling. So if somebody is showing up emotionally unavailable and you're like, circumstances don't matter, I'm going to make them change their ways. Where are you in that? You're completely out of the picture. And you could be saying, well, no, I want them to change. So then they'll give me what I need. And then I'm thinking of me, but you're not. This is very much a deep, deep, I've been there and it really hurts. And doing that is self abandoning. Circumstances don't matter because circumstances are not a set reflection of your self worth. They are showing you where you are in terms of your own consciousness level, in terms of your own inner belief. So, what are my circumstances? Okay, what are the stories I'm telling about myself? Okay, well, this person left me and they're not okay. Um, XYZ. And then, especially, too, okay, he's in the military. Um, you don't have to be in the military to suppress your emotions if you don't have the inner tools to have the space. And there's no disrespect to him. Like for many, 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 many years, I suppressed my emotions because I didn't know another way. And I had to learn. And everyone has to have the desire to grow and change. And if they don't, we can never force other people to do that. That is incredibly difficult in my experience, in my opinion. And when we try to make other people change, I believe it's also a form of self-abandonment in like a more abstract way, because it's like we want them to change so that we feel different. Well, where are we in that? Where's our power in that? It's with them, right? So circumstances don't matter because you can do your own inner work and shift your energetics so that people who aren't emotionally available will no longer be attractive, and maybe they have the capacity to have that emotional maturity and capacity too, and they start seeing you respect yourself, they start seeing your growth, and they're maybe inspired to do their own work. But circumstances don't matter, meaning that somebody shows up as an asshole or not interested, and I'm going to do all this stuff to change them. You're leaving yourself and your experience to go get them to change so you'll feel different. So that's the same energy as childhood, because it's, I can't leave this environment. I can't do anything else other than get these people to change so I can have my needs met. I have to relate my needs through the other people rather than relate to my needs through myself. And I call it emotional echolocating, which I talk about. I have a digital course where it's like a three-step, three different modules where it teaches you how to break out, how to become aware of the stories, how to break out of them in the moment, and how to cultivate a new self-image. And one part of the modules talks about EEL, emotionally echolocating. I am safe. My sense of safety and okayness is reflecting through this person. And again, that comes from childhood. If your parent was a very angry parent and you had to kind of eggshell tiptoe, you had to kind of see who you needed to be to keep yourself safe, relating through the other person. Okay, my parents not really connecting, they're not interested. What do I need to do over here so that I can get their attention, so I can get at that connection? So that's kind of some stuff on, sure, circumstances don't matter, but if you manipulate it where you're trying to change your outside world strictly and you're gaslighting and emotionally abandoning yourself, well, your circumstances won't change because they'll just keep reflecting. So they matter in a way of like their feedback, but they don't matter in the sense that that's your only opportunity or experience in life. I think that that's clear about how it is. But unfortunately, people are like, persist, 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 persist. If you stepped on a thorn and your foot hurt because there was a thorn in your foot and you're like, nope, I don't feel that. No, I feel good. My foot's great. My foot's great. My foot's great. All your energy is going to denying and suppressing what's going on rather than taking your attention to pull the thorn out of your foot, healing it, and moving on with it. So, like, ruminating, hello, ruminating is not persisting. Again, if you think about energy and if you think about energy on the more spiritual plane and think about perceptions on the like more psychological, they're the same. That's how I see it. It's all the same thing, but like, how can we get there? And I'm just going to persist here, right there. Nothing's changing. So learning, oh, my power is with me. I can go in here and let go of this shit. Okay, cut that. Oh, that's thank you, but that's not for me. Oh, that's not me. Oh my God, I'm actually always been worthy, right? These kind of things. Then you basically clear your eyes and you look out and you're like, oh man, I love this person and it would be nice if they're emotionally available and I can see that I deserve better and I'm ready to have that relationship with that full capacity. And I'm ready for that next experience. Maybe it's with that person if they can then level up, but you doing it so they'll change is completely leaving you, in my opinion. And I'm not saying you're bad or wrong or evil or like none of that. I'm just trying to give you the perspective I wish I had like 5 years ago because I always wanted to change other people because I thought if I would change them, then I can get what I need. That's a big thing. Circumstances don't matter. I'll change them and then I'll get what I need, meaning that me on my own can't get what I need. Okay, sometimes I forget. I'm just like reading. Like y'all can't hear the words that I'm reading. Nothing has changed in my 3D despite my persistence, but I guess I'm not shifting fully. And yes, everything you say is spot on. Wonderful. And see, there I go again, just quietly reading. Do I have videos that specifically talk about my personal success stories? I actually only have a couple. I think I have a how I met like, and I'm moving away from the word manifest because manifestation is just like it's I'm still searching for the words, but yes, that's the end product. But when you focus on the end product, you miss the entire thing that creates the product, if that makes sense. Like that's the end situation, but how to get there is not going towards the end, if that makes sense. Like if I want to go to California, like I need to take the directions and focus on that. But anyway, I digress. But I don't know if I took it down because I had the word manifestation in it. I took a lot of videos down because I'm not looking for, anyway, we won't get into that. Yes, I do. I have one about my track, like my sports journey. And then I also have how like I attracted love, if that makes sense. But do I have hang on. I think that this still shows me, but let me see if I can find them really quick. And then I'll post them here. Can I find them? My success. I think if you, let's see what happens. How to manifest love. I still have it up, but there's also one. Hang on, I'll get the link. Hold, please. So this is my personal. Okay, copy. Okay, so here is my. Hang on a second. I'm hacking the mainframe. Not really. You would be definitely way better at that. I'm like my technological skills are. They're improving. I'll give me credit, but they're still like, sometimes I'm like, I'm not a boomer, by the way, but sometimes I feel like it. I'm like, how do you work this over here? I think that this is, I wish it, I thought it would give the thumbnail, but it doesn't. And then I know that I also had a video on, let's see, I think it was performance. Let's see. Oh yeah, there we go. So yes, I do. And I was actually able to pull them up easily. So the first one was about love, and the second one is about sports performance. Okay, we've really done a lot today. Oh, there it is. Okay. I love that. You're like, no, like when you click the link and you're like, not like that. And there you go into the internet ether. Um, okay. Yeah. Personal success stories. And I mean, recently I've been able to have big opportunities that would show a higher level of worth. Um, so one of my other businesses is I do woodworking. That's kind of what started my internal journey, is actually, um, learning about myself and about healing and about kintsugi, embodying kintsugi through woodworking. So that's something I've been doing for years, and it's another one of my businesses. But um, so two things. For one, I got the invitation to do a keynote, which is blending the worlds of my other business and this, on my YouTube world and my internal stuff. So my external, my internal, that's blending. And then another thing that happened like a week later was getting this huge opportunity to do uh, like essentially be the supplier for a very big restaurant here, to be part of their like Christmas kits, or like they're doing packaging for that. And originally 2 years ago I reached out and got nothing, and then they emailed me out of the blue. So working on my sense of self and my sense of worth and respecting myself that way has seen a completely different experience in my life, um, by navigating those doubts or navigating those moments of uncertainty differently, and learning to trust myself. So I do have a lot more stories that, um, I guess I should make videos on. Sometimes it's like there's like 900 things to do, and I'm like, which one should I do right now? But yeah, I think that one day I'll do a video with woodworking, like talking about the imperfections. Like my whole speech about my keynote is going to be embodied kintsugi, transforming beauty, broken into beautiful. I have to keep reminding myself to keep the focus more on myself and less on needing things to look a certain way. Hearing your success is a good reminder. Well, that's really actually really helpful to know, because, um, I sometimes I don't know what can help and what doesn't, and like it can feel like if there was books in the back, I'm like, which one can help? How can I tell this or get this information to you in the most consumable and helpful way? So maybe I'll share more of these successes. And also on live, it makes it way easier for me to communicate this, um, and like understanding where to put it. Sometimes I get overwhelmed with like simple things, but sometimes complex things are simple to me. So we all have our strengths and then our not as strongs. Um, but yeah, I'll probably do a, video at one point about, or maybe I'll just do a live about, kintsugi and like using that as a philosophy in life, which is essentially what my whole channel is about. But I've never said it in that specific way. And then also I've been thinking about doing a relationship workshop. Maybe it's live. I'm not sure yet. But yeah, that's another thing too, where this is a really busy time for me in two different worlds. So doing my best to stay on top of everything. And then I fly to Texas next week to give the keynote, which is very exciting. And also like, oh man, I feel like all ramped up, and then it's like I already know, like as I'm about to get on stage, the nervousness will be there. But one thing that I've already given myself permission, like there's no perfect. Get up there, do your best. And also that like that feels so good that there's not some kind of imaginary standard that I'm holding myself to, other than I'm going to do my best. I'm going to put my best forward. But this kind of fixation, like, oh no, what if I disappoint somebody? That's self-rejection, self-abandonment. And I'm like, you know what? You're doing great. This is great. They trust you to go give this speech. So put everything you have into it. Do the best you can in organizing. And that's going to be great. And that just feels so relieving. So just realizing how much power we have in our own experiences, and how our imagination, your body doesn't know the difference between a very vivid, high anxiety, physiologically, and like feeling this stuff, visualization, and a real event. So we can literally live through very stressful situations over and over in our brain, and our body thinks that that's what we've done, and it's not true. Okay, there I go again, just reading. And I was like scratching this little post right. Perfect is probably more about the energy than some structure you have to adhere to. Exactly. For one, there is no perfect. My whole keynote is about how to learn to transform perfect, that there is no perfect. And the imperfections is actually what gives us the texture to connect to. And when we can ground in ourselves, that's the gateway to help actually connect deeper with others, which is what we all yearn and seek for and need as a human being. So this perfectionism is actually an old coping mechanism. And recently I was listening to Robert Ohado, which I highly suggest him as well. He is a student of Carolyn Miss, and she is, I know I'm speaking for you, so forgive me, but I just feel like she is one of our spiritual grandmothers. She is incredible, and I love her and her wisdom and how she blends so many different religions and philosophies together into something very coherent. But Robert has studied under her, and he was talking about like we take on these coping mechanisms or these archetypes as kids as perfectionism. Okay, I got to do perfect because if I'm perfect, then I'm safe. But there really is no perfect. It's just an idea we held to give ourselves more of a sense of security. But learning how to step out of those is our our greatest work in life. Okay, you have an unusual question. Oh, I am feeling pretty placid, neutral, not craving anything desperately like usual. This is probably a good time to start attracting. Where do I go from here? Okay, so let me just see if I can take this in. You are feeling neutral. You're not craving, you're not seeking outside of you. Well, what I would focus on, if I'm understanding you right, where it's like you're getting more centered in yourself rather than externally seeking outside of yourself, which I'm saying the same thing. But where would you go? Well, I would think, okay, what end emotion am I wanting in my life? Not at the end of your life, but like, what emotions am I wanting in my life? I want stability. I want a sense of belonging. I want, that kind of thing, right? I want to have, it's hard because there's so many different things you might experience it through. But getting clear on what those end emotions are, starting to, you could go on those walks that I talked about earlier, putting on the alpha brainwaves and walking and just feeling those in your body. What would that deep sense of belonging feel like? Okay, are there times I've had it before? What did that feel like? Do I see somebody who's emulating that I'd like to also? The external thing is hard because it's like if there's like a speaker who's doing what you want, or like person who has money or in the relationship. Well, you don't know their emotions, so I wouldn't do that as much actually. Retract, delete. Doot, 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 doot. But what are the end emotions that you'd like? What emotions would you ideally like to have and be surrounded by in your life? Belonging, love, peace, that sort of thing. And then think about right now how you experience them, how you might be able to increase them in your own way, and then see what happens from there. So rather than, okay, I would like a person to come into my life. Okay, maybe that new relationship comes in your life and expands your sense of peace and belonging and stability, right? Maybe, oh, look at this, a raise, this amount of money comes into my, oh, that's increasing this feeling of stability, right? So getting clear on the end emotions will bring in the experiences, if that makes sense. Focus on me being perfect makes me feel like I have a sense of control. There's an underlying desire to control others' reactions and feeling towards us. Yeah, wanting to feel safe. Oh, okay. I thought, and maybe once upon a time, that if I was perfect, that made me safe. But now I'm seeing that sense of perfection creates a prison, and I can't really be myself, and I'm so overwhelmed by this and that. Okay, can I trust myself that I have what I need and I can keep myself safe? And the way that others react around me is respectful of me. Or and if they don't, I trust my right. Like you're taking your sense of safety into your own hands with that increase in confidence, that increase in self-trust, so that any situation you're in, you can be good. and you'll be less likely to go outside and like, okay, they need to do this so that, oh, I feel powerless. Okay, what do I need right now? What would make me feel more connected and a more of a sense of power? And one of those could be just breathing and getting in your body, because you might kind of start to get outside of your body when you're starting to control. I've honestly been casually chatting, but I'm picking up so many gems from this live. Woo! Good. Love it. But anyway, okay. My energy is starting to descend. Probably because it's the sun here up in these parts. The time change is happening on Saturday, so right, it's gonna get dark soon, like really dark. Where I'm like, wow, it's 6 p.m. I'm ready for bed. But anyway, I think I'm gonna wrap it up unless somebody has a last minute question. Oh, and if anyone is interested, I totally forgot to post this earlier. I am doing one-on-ones now, so you fill out the form and then I will email you if you want to do this specifically, breaking down in there me helping you see the patterns so that you can have a better strategy of responding differently and getting clear of your true worth and your increasing your self-image and self-confidence and learning how to navigate those old situations differently, which will give you different results, because same beliefs, same behavior equals repeated patterns, repeated experiences. But changing the beliefs and changing the behavior equals the unknown. And everything you seek in your life that you haven't experienced yet lives in that unknown. So I appreciate y'all all for joining me. This was wonderful. What a delight. What a surprise. And I love y'all. Hope you have a wonderful day, night, morning, wherever you are. And take care for now. Bye-bye.